All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another content audit training where we're teaching you how to use our amazing Anansi Content Rubric to really have clients' copy might not match up to where it should be, kind of in terms of effectiveness, in terms of voice and tone, in terms of engagement. And we're going to run through all of those kind of aspects of how to bring that alive in those kind of four pillars of kind of where we see content strategy and where your copy needs to be. So we have this awesome tool called a content rubric, and I'm going to just share my screen to give you a glimpse of this beautiful resource that you're going to receive in your email after this training. So basically, this is basically the first kind of starting point of any project. We like to look at the client's content and understand where they're at, and then basically utilize, because sometimes there's like great little blurbs in there that we can use to actually beef up as we work through the copy process. But ultimately, we're looking at four main criteria here, which is basically the core of our content strategy. So we're looking at readability, we're looking at engagement, we're looking at effectiveness, and we're looking at voice and tone. So oh gosh, this training is so hard to do in 15 minutes, but I'm going to try and get through it as much as I can. So looking at criteria, look at our first criteria, we're looking at readability. So thinking about how do we make the information on the page, on the homepage, on every page of the website as easy to absorb as possible for the audience. So we need to think, is it skimmable? Can I go through that homepage and get the key information I need? So how does that actually look like in practice? We're using headers, we're bullet pointing key information, there's short paragraphs, varied sentence length. So it's easy for things to kind of pop out that are important pieces of info that we need our audience to grasp. But of course, on top of that, we also want to make sure that there's no spelling errors or grammar issues, or sometimes we're just overusing words and phrases that are just so unnecessary in the copy to begin with that it just becomes clutter on the page. And another great way, obviously, in terms of formatting where we're at. So yes, we love our bullet points and our paragraphs, but when we're using headers, we're looking at our H1s or H2s, we want our hero section to stand out entirely and really grasp what it is that you're offering and who you're speaking to. So that leads me to the second piece of a criteria here, which is engagement. So is your content even written for the audience? And this is like the meat of a content strategy. We need to know who you're talking to, because if you're just talking to everybody, you're not talking to anyone. So how do we make sure that we're really speaking to those external and internal challenges that your audience is facing? How do we connect to them with logical and emotional terms and sentences to really help them see that we understand where they're at? So showing them that we know where they're at instead of telling them. So just we need to really resonate with where the audience is so that we can build copy around those pain points, show them the transformation. So on top of that, we have effectiveness. So this is obviously the next big part in terms of our audiences. We need to know where they're at in their journey to help them take the next action on your website. So what is the call to action? Does it make sense? Is there one clear goal, or are you setting them to like 16 different directions on your homepage? Because that ain't going to get anyone to do anything. So we want to make it as clear as possible what we want our audience to do to get them to take action with us and move them down toward through the sales funnel. And then, of course, with voice and tone, our last but definitely not least is, how do we make sure that the content resonates with our audience? So what kind of terminology are we using? Or have you identified your brand archetypes? And I feel like I have to do another training on brand archetypes in the near future, because this is something that we find agencies and clients struggle with so much, because voice is one thing, like having a consistent, unique, memorable voice that is consistent across all your copy, not just your foundation copy, but also your ongoing content marketing. But on top of that, your tone. It is so easy to fluctuate between formal, business casual, informal tone when we haven't identified what's going to resonate most with our audience. And something that I love on this rubric that I love to ask, like myself, when I'm looking at a website, is if the logos and the branding was removed, would it still be recognizable? Does the copy actually speak to that brand as a whole. So, great brands that do this are, Disney. You can always tell when it has that like magical feel to it, even if they took that beautiful castle away. So how can you make your brand stand out like that, even without, oh, we have someone, sorry, someone's joining us, even though it's a little bit late. 1 second. So how do we make the brand stand out, even if we remove the logos? Oh, they're just connecting audio. Hi there, you've just joined us, and I've just gone through like the kind of core piece of like the content rubric here. But ultimately, I was running through the 4 main criteria of our content rubric and how that translates into a website. So don't worry, we'll make sure that you get this recording afterwards. But ultimately, we're looking at readability, engagement, effectiveness, and voice and tone. So Caelin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I'd love to kind of go through 2 website examples and understand. I'd love to understand, how do we use this in practice? So we chose 2 amazing plant websites.
Plants are my new obsession.
If we were going through this website,
yeah, so this is
what is it that you love about this website?
So obviously, like, this just hits all of the points. Full disclosure, I am a customer of PlantSum. But first off, you can see their copy is really readable. They've got a nice heavy font. They've got dark colors, but also their I was going to say subheads, not their subheads. Their headlines, any of their headers are nice and bold. They're short, they're punchy. They're also very clear. So it is very easy to read this site. Their copy is also very engaging, Jazz. If you scroll down, you'll notice that they have names for every one of their plant varieties. So, and it's not just like it's not the name. We've got Phil, we've got Dwayne, we've got Vienna, we've got Shao, we've got, they've given personality to their plants, and on the plant pages they have like little descriptions about, this one likes to party, this one's afraid of cats. So it's very, very engaging and personalized. I have ordered from them, and I can tell you as well that this voice is consistent across all of their marketing materials. They have inserts and such that come when you place orders with them. So unfortunately I threw them out, but they have just really great physical marketing materials. This voice is also in their app, which is part of their whole selling feature, is that you get plants from them, but then you also get an app that'll help you water them and remind you to repot them and take care of the fertilizer and such. So it creates this really great customer experience. It's very engaging, and it's absolutely written for people who love plants but aren't great at taking care of them.
I love that, because I feel like if we, when we really understand the pain points of our audience, so like we love plants, but we suck at taking care of them, how do we make sure that comes through in the copy? How do we support our audience in that? And something that I love that you mentioned before as well was like, this app also helps you continuously care for your plants.
Yeah.
And like they even mention it right here. They're like,
yep.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was going to point to. And as
that.
Someone with like ADHD and memory issues, even if having the app, there will be points where I'm like, I haven't gotten a notification from PlantSum in a while. Are my plants okay? And that just helps me check in. So all of a sudden, I'm a more responsible plant parent because they've actually created this really engaging, fun voice and tone, So it really is a really great way that their copy just sort of helps with the end problem. It's not just by identifying the pain points and offering me like a proper solution, but it's made it like fun to use. I can actually pop open the app real quick. If you can see, their header says, "Welcome back, you badass plant parent." So it's the same all over, right? It's just really fun. They call your plants amigos. It's just a really great example of understanding the voice and tone they want. They want something light and fun. This is, how they make it accessible for people who, love plants like me, but kill them a lot. I don't feel as bad when you call them my amigos as saying you're a horrible plant parent,
I love that. Something I'm still iffy about on this website is I find that there is a lot going, is 3 call to actions here. like use our plant finder, give a gift card, shop the tropics.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily like, it doesn't totally take my, like, it doesn't make me think like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to choose. But like they lay it out in a decent way. Like I think this is where copy, like when copywriters work with designers and
Mhm.
they come together to really make sure that it's all coming together cohesively is so important, because often sometimes we'll just take copy, throw it on like a random template, and then it's all like wishy-washy. But working together in this process is so important. So
Mhm.
I don't find it distracting, but I do usually prefer one CTA to make it a little bit easier.
Mhm.
Curious, as a customer yourself, how do you feel about this header, this hero section?
So as a customer, this hero section, I don't mind it. Um, the the headers are large enough that they're each sort of distinct, and it's kind of like, okay, this is obviously the one they want us to take action on. These are my other options, right? So if this isn't right for me, my options are right here. Um, as a copywriter, though, I do kind of agree where it's like, what's the one thing they want me to do? This is something that I see kind of a lot on like e-commerce type sites
Mhm.
where there's just a whole bunch of different calls to action on
Yeah.
one page, which is understandable because there's different things for different needs. So Winter Blues got you down. Okay, this is more for people who know what they want. Having the plant finder right there is what I needed because I have a unique apartment with not a great light situation. So, I needed that sort of help. Um, so it's one of those things where I do think design could have been better used to improve it, but it's not unreadable and it's not, not going to convert as a result of that.
Yeah. So let's compare that to our like poor example
Yeah.
website. So just briefly take us through kind of like your kind of audit of how this website is performing.
This one really doesn't do much. You can see it's white text on a black background. There's very little engagement. I mean, you can read this, but it's and you can kind of tell, grower of fine trees and maker of great gardens located on the beautiful Sunshine Coast just west of Vancouver. There's obviously kind of like a voice and tone that they're going for. But when you look at the copy they've got and just it's not great, really. Especially we've got a typo right here in British Columbia. This especially the copy itself. This is where copy and design meet because this light gray text is nearly unreadable in terms of just
Mm. It's
design.
also
And this
so
is,
much content.
yeah, and there's a lot of content that's just not broken up in a way that makes it easy to digest. So this is where like copy and design really need to work
Mm.
together. Because I mean, this copy isn't, when you read the words, they're not actually bad. But there's ways they could be more engaging. There's ways that it could be, I'm not quite sure who the target audience is for this site reading this,
Mm.
but this isn't um, horrible, throw it in fire, get rid of all of it copy, but the design
Right.
takes it down that level and makes it unreadable and very ineffective, and even less engaging.
Yeah. 100%.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then we have the whole shop thing, which is like, this isn't like, am I supposed to click? I don't like when websites do this. Like, am I
Yeah,
supposed to click here? There's no button. I don't really know what, like, are the, there's no
exactly.
hyperlink. So,
Yeah, those,
yeah.
you can't tell what they want you to do. Even if you go back to plants, I'm sure there were multiple calls to action, but there was
Yeah.
buttons. There were on the homepage, I think they had a couple
Yes.
different categories. You have
Yeah. And
look
you
at
can,
these, like these are like our newest plants. They're only giving you a couple options, but you can tell, oh yeah,
yeah.
I can click through to these. And I've
Mhm.
done other e-commerce sites where it's okay, yeah, we have multiple calls to action, but like here's the category. This is what you should look at. Or here's the about page,
Mm.
right? So, and you can see how they use design to help differentiate out, very specific points on this site. Find your plant, choose a pot, delivery to your home. There's an app, right? Makes it really
Yeah.
simple and visual. Whereas when it's just text, it having just text often makes a site less readable because there's
Mm.
nothing to break it up and make it more digestible to the eye.
100%. Yeah. Thank you, Caelin. I actually didn't even realize the process here, and I love the way this is written out. This could even be these content blurbs could probably be chopped down a little bit.
Probably.
However, I think they've done it really well.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
everything can always
awesome.
be, yeah, thanks. Yeah, everything can always be tightened and refined is something I want to say. You know, and making sure that you take the time to sort of sit down and really tighten and refine your copy is one of the most important steps, because it's really easy to phrase a sentence in a way that conveys everything you want, but is twice as long as it needs to be. You can often get it can be half as long and just as clear a lot of times if you change your phrasing. And you know, that is just something that comes with time and experience, and just being able to sit on your copy for even a few days before you have to put it on the site.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for your incredible content strategist brain for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for watching. After watching this recording, you will actually receive a free download of our content rubric that I highly recommend. If you have a new client that's coming in, if you have a lead kind of hanging around in your funnel, this is a great tool to use to let them know where they're at with their copy. Because often we know the challenges with clients trying to move forward with copy. They think they can write it themselves. They don't really understand the investment. But when you lay it out, all of these challenges that they're facing, and where and really taking them through a rubric that's ranking them, you're giving them a score from 1 to 10, and the copy you'll receive of the rubric actually help it gives you instructions on how to actually go through and provide like a mark for the copy, and it starts from like didn't even try at all to really, really awesome. But usually we find, like, if clients are anywhere underneath like even a score of 8, it's best that you bring a content strategist on board to help them take them through that process. So here at Anansi, we have an incredible 3-step process that our incredible account manager Tanya will start you with to get you through what that looks like. But ultimately, what we do is we start with messaging anchors. So that's when that's where we're talking about content strategy. We basically provide a deliverable to your client, a copy reference guide that just clarifies and focuses in on who their ideal audience is, the support messaging, the key messaging that we need to be communicating through their copy, really honing in and establishing their brand voice and tone. And also sometimes if you're going for like an influencer or a thought leader level, so depending on where your client's at, we can even be providing, a little bit more of SEO research in that aspect. We're giving them a really clear understanding of where they need to go with the project. And then we move them towards foundation copy, which can be mostly it's website copy. Sometimes it's just a landing page, depends on where your client's at in the journey. And that's where Tanya comes in to really help you understand what's best for your client. But that's when we're literally taking that strategy, that copy reference guide, we're utilizing that to create their website copy. So you get to see how we clarify all their messaging, transform that into copy, and then we move them towards the growth strategy stage, where we're just continuously helping them work towards their growth goals. So we like to start off with, or we always work on just one goal at a time, but we usually start off somewhere around, visibility, or helping them clean up all their processes so we can really build on sustainable growth. However, the 4 goals that we do focus on would be visibility. So that would be getting more eyes on your client's copy. Engagement would be getting more clicks on all that copy. Conversions, so getting more people to sign on the dotted line. And then retention. So helping either, that could be, making sure that we have more repeat clients. It could be really net referral campaigns, ultimately continuing to grow that community based on, the people who are already loyal to your brand. So to learn more, you're also getting, that's not all. This is my Oprah moment. That's not all. You're also getting access to Tanya's booking link to book in a strategy call to learn more about a process, ask any questions that you might have, and she'll be there to support you through. So yeah, we look forward to joining us today.